in this Apptics 101 series, we will be exploring application analytics, and we'll be learning how to master the art of leveraging in-app insights to improve app performance and experience. So, as a sequel, this is our fourth webinar, fourth part. And in today's webinar, we'll be taking a deep dive into in-app events and custom properties in Apptics. And we do have a ritual where we kind of recap whatever we had seen or covered in our previous sessions. So in our previous sessions, we had looked into the importance of having a smooth user experience for app growth. Then we saw how to configure in-app update alerts, which can be prompted across different platforms. And then we also saw remote configuration, which is a feature in Aptics, which helps you maintain the balance between both the quality as well as the quantity of updates that you release for your app. And then we have in-app ratings. So in in-app ratings, it helps you to set dynamic criteria based on which you can show the latest prompts. Let's come to the main topic. So this is our agenda for today. So in today's session, we'll be looking into analyzing user behavior using Aptics. Then we'll be looking into how to track defined and custom events. Then we'll see how to use custom properties for tracking additional attributes and using those custom properties to drill down specific insights that you want to look into or filter in. So this is all about what we'll be covering today. In today's session, we'll be looking into these features. But before that, before we move take a deep dive into the features or how the module works in Aptics, let me first maybe explain why do we need these features at the first place. So by now we all would have seen like Zoho Apptics is versatile with more than 20 modules, and they contribute in meeting your analytical needs. So you would have different various changing requirements. So to suit those needs, we have many modules. So in our previous webinars, we initially saw how Apptics could help you monitor your app's health and performance. And then later we also saw how Apptics can help you to drive app growth and to deliver a smooth user experience and so on. And following that, in today's session, we'll be looking into the modules that can help you track and analyze the in-app engagement that happens within your app. So the primary purpose of any application analytics tool is to actually give you insights on the in-app usage and engagement that happens within your app. So you need to have the necessary data and insights that answer questions like how often your users engage with your app, or how much time they spend with your app, what are the different user actions or interactions that happen within your app, and which screens do your users visit the most, or which features they use the most, and so on. So there are many questions lined up, and it's I would say it's a duty of the analytics tool that you're using that it should help you give those answers in the form of data or insight. So in Aptics, once you complete the initial SDK integration setup, you can immediately start tracking metrics like sessions, screens, and crashes by default. But apart from these metrics, there are many more crucial data points that you would require to connect them all together, like connect those dots together and make sense out of the raw in-app data that you have in hand. So without further ado, let's explore the events and custom properties modules in Aptics. So firstly, we'll explore in-app events. To talk about events is a part of the core data that you would require for analytics. So in Aptics, you can track the in-app events that can be various user interactions that happen within your application. So it could include a simple button click or a swipe or a form submission or closing a pop-up. It can be minute interactions, but they might make a huge difference in your app's user experience. So once tracking starts, you can analyze these insights that provide you an understanding of your app's user behavior, and also it helps you to analyze what and all interactions are happening within your app and how to improve your app's user experience further on. So even after getting these data, you sometimes the problem is you would have huge numbers or metrics that you can track, stats. You'll have all the required data in hand, but you would not be able to still make sense out of it. That's where you can use filters. So in Aptics, you can filter out the this event data across default attributes, like across devices, platforms, app versions, OS versions, and countries. So these are all some default attributes, or maybe say default filters, using which you can filter out data that you want. And apart from that, there are also additional custom properties that you can set for your app. And this will be covered in the next segment within this session. So once we complete with the events part of it, we'll also see the custom properties as well. So the main point over here is such granularity in data enables you to refine your product's UI based on the actual user behavior and not on assumptions. So to start tracking these events in Aptics, you need to do some necessary configurations in the SDK side. So this is the documentation that we have. And as you can see here, the events guide is split based on the platforms. So this is for Android and this is for iOS and so on. So based on the platform your app is running on, you can select the category, and then over here you would see how to define these events or how to configure them in the SDK side. So basically in Aptics, you can configure two types of events. One is the defined, and then the other is the custom event. So for defined events, they are like a set of predefined events that are available for use once you have integrated our SDK. So it includes some of the basic events related to your app lifecycle. So so over here, this also depends on the platform. Like these defined events can be tracked sometimes automatically, and a few cannot be tracked automatically. So this list is provided for every platform, so you can go and refer to our documentation, and you can configure them accordingly. So as you can see here, these are like some basic events that you can track using Aptics. So this was all about the defined events. Now coming back to the another type of event, which is the custom event. So for these custom events, these are literally the events that you want to capture within your app using our SDK, using the Aptics SDK. So you would have to configure them on your own from the SDK side, but it's actually a simple process. So you can refer to our SDK guide to make those necessary configurations. And once it's done, you will be able to see the data getting populated in our Aptics console. So let's move on to the console demo part. So you will find this is the events module in Aptics. So you will find this events module under the engagement section, which is here in the left menu, as you can see over here. So once you click on it, you will be able to see this module. So once the SDK configurations are done, the stats slowly start to flow into your events dashboard. So over here, you'll be able to first see a list of all the events that are being tracked for your the selected application ID and for the selected date range. So as you can see here, it covers details like the event name, then the event group, and then the platforms for which the event is defined, the event count, and then the unique number of active devices in which the event was triggered. So you can differentiate, since now you know, right, that we have two different types of events that get tracked. So you can differentiate the defined events by looking at the tag that is given here. So we have differentiated the defined event a bit differently over here, as you can see. So this was all about looking through the list of events, but the real insights and analytics lies within the granular insights. So let me show you how that works. So if you click on an individual event, you will be able to see granular insights about the event. So you can analyze the data based on brand, platform, application ID, app version, browser or OS version, device type, device model, and countries. So you can filter out the data that you want, and analyze the individual events and the data, and you can get more insights about it from here. So now we talked about how to analyze the data that has already been populated in the Aptics console. But now we would have to see how to manage these events, right? So now to manage the events, you can click on manage events and this pop-up will appear. And from here, you will be able to see the list of custom events and the defined events separately. So over here, from here, you can, edit or delete, edit the, event name or event group name, or, you can also delete events from here. But here's a small disclaimer. If you have to remember that if you delete an event, the data will be lost forever. So you would have to practice caution when you are deleting an event or event group, because if you delete the event group, it means that you will be deleting the entire event, the entire list of events that are under the event group. So if you delete them, you would have to the data tracking will be stopped, and you would have to retrieve them again or reconfigure them in the SDK side. So yes, enough of cautions. We Let's talk about how you can edit or start editing the group name or delete them. So as you can see here, I can edit the group name over here according to whichever name suits me, or whichever name is easier to remember, or so on. And also I can also delete the group name or events from here. Likewise, I have one more thing to mention over here, that you can delete or edit the group name or event name in custom events. But when it comes to defined events, you can only delete them. So it's better if you use the delete option only in case you add any defined events by mistake, or you would have to reconfigure them again in the SDK side. So when it comes to custom events, you can also export the data over here, as you can see, and that will be given as a JSON object, JSON file over here. Or you can also export it as a CSV file by clicking over here in this option. So this is all about the events module in Aptics, and this is how you can view the stats and drill down data based on the default filters in events. So this is how the events module looks like, and we have come to the end of the initial first segment about events. Let's move on to the next section. Well, I mean the next segment, which is about custom properties. So we all know that Aptics already now tracks most of the core metrics that you need for the basic analysis and stuff like that. But there might be some additional data points that you would want to track along with the stats that we provide in Aptics, isn't it? So for that, you can use custom properties in Aptics. Say for example, there are metrics, like there are additional commonly used attributes that can be specific to a particular app. Say for example, we have common attributes like age, gender, customer ID, user preferences, frequency of use, and so on. But some attributes, it depends on the type of app that you have or app that you're developing, right? So some might be like the purchase history, the order value, the customer ID when it comes to an e-commerce app. Or there might be other additional attributes which are related to say you're developing a fitness app, then it would be like the number of updates or number of reminders provided for your users, and so on. So these are all attributes specific to your app. So you can, define them, and you can track them as custom properties for your app using Aptic. So this way you can add more depth to your data on insights like insights on user behavior, engagement, and user interactions. And then you can later use these custom properties as personalized search filters, and they can be search filters to drill down specific data for your app. Say you want to purchase something simple, like let's take some examples over here to make it more easily relatable. Say you want to know something simple like the total count of the products that users have purchased using your app, or it can be something, some more deeper insights that you would like to find out, like the different music genres that your you know uh, female users or women users stream the most within your app. Say you're developing an app which is streaming music, so this would be really helpful. And then finding out how many of them have subscribed to different music genres, and using that data you would like to launch a special offer on Women's Day, right? So if there's a situation like that, these custom properties that you define would definitely help you, and you can do that in Aptics. So as usual, before we move on to the custom the custom properties demo in the console, let me again emphasize on how to configure them. And you have to configure them from the SDK side. So you can do that by referring our documentation. And this is also a streamlined process where you would have to define the event group and event name, and there are set defined methods which you can use to do that within minutes. So right now, Aptic supports custom properties for events, but in the near future, we are planning to extend support to many other data points like screens, sessions, errors, and many other data points. So you can define these custom properties from the SDK side, as you can see here, and you would have to use methods like Aptix events dot add event method to log those custom events, the event groups, and the custom properties together. So when you define these custom properties, it you know Aptix supports three types of data. One is the string data type, and then we have the number data type, which includes integer, float, double, and long numeric values. And then we have the Boolean data type. So we support all these three data types. And if we have values that you want to provide, like other data types such as JSON object or JSON array, then they will be automatically converted to a string format when when you define the custom properties in the SDK side. So again, we have a small disclaimer here, or a friendly reminder, I would say. We basically emphasize more on the privacy aspects as well. So just a friendly reminder that while you are adding these parameters, please ensure that you aren't sending any sensitive information or PII in the custom properties, as it could violate your user's privacy settings. So yes, let's stop giving disclaimers again and again. So now in today's webinar, we have to for demo purpose we have already configured these events and also as well as the custom properties, so that you can be able to see how it works in the Aptix console. So without further ado, let me move on to the console demo. So this is the custom properties module, which you will be able to see once you have done the necessary configurations. And this will be available again under the engagement section in the left menu. So as I had mentioned earlier, once you add the custom properties in the SDK, you will be able to manage the custom properties and use them to filter out the data that you want from here. So you can view custom properties that you have already configured in the SDK side with property names and the data types by clicking here. So once you click on manage properties, you will be able to see the list of properties that you have already added. So as you can see here, you can add up to 100 custom properties for your app. So if you want to add a, if you have if you want to add a new custom property, but you have reached your limit, it's okay. You can delete an existing custom property from here, and the option is given here, and then you can add a new one from the SDK side. So If you have deleted any custom property, you can also see the list of deleted custom properties here. So if you want, you can later on make sure that you reconfigure them later on. So now we saw how to manage the properties that you have already created or already defined for your app. Now, how to use these custom properties to as personalized filters or to search the data that you want. So here's where the initial page that we saw comes into play. So this is the custom properties search page, and from here you will be able to filter out the data that you want based on the custom properties that we have defined. So now, before we go into the demo, or before we see how it works, let's again look into some examples which can be helpful for us to relate to it and understand this feature more easily. So remember the examples we discussed earlier. So maybe let's take the example where we had to know more about the female users and the taste in music to launch a special offer on Women's Day. So what would I need to do? The first thing that I would have to do is I would have to select the events from which we want to filter out the data. So for our case, we would want to filter out the data from the number of users who have. Firstly, they should have been logged in, because if they aren't logged in, I won't be able to find out who they are, isn't it? And then I would want to also make sure that they have actually streamed some music. So I select these two events first. So I have selected the people who have logged in and played some music using my app. So then now the next step would be to select the custom properties and define criteria patterns based on which we would want to filter out the data. So for our example, we would have to select the gender property, right? Because we want to look into uh, the music taste and their preferences of our women users. So over here, I select the gender as female. So now we already have a simple configuration done. And to simply filter out the data, I just have to select the events and properties based on which I want to filter out the data. So after I have done the selections, if I click on apply, I would be able to see the whole list of events that fulfill this criteria, as we can see over here. Now I don't want to stop over here, because as you can see here, this is a huge set of data, and sometimes when you have large sets of data, it can be more confusing, and especially when it comes to our like our example, we would want more specific data. Even now you will be able to see many more insights. Like if you click on view more, you'll be able to see the start time, end time, the the SDK version, app version, and then the other custom properties that are tracked along with the event, and so on. But these details might be helpful for certain cases, while so much of data can be overwhelming for our examples or for our use case, isn't it? So for that, what we can do is we can add multiple criteria. So to decipher the data that we have in these rows and columns, we would have to drill down into specific insights. And for that, I can select multiple properties and define the criteria based on the and or logic. So let me show you how to do that. So here, we can now add one more criteria where the user should be already subscribed. So I have already, set a property, defined a property as a subscribed, and now I give it as true. So this means that the user should be a female, and also they should have subscribed to some music genre. So now, what we'll be doing is, after we apply this criteria pattern, we would be able to get more specific data. And as you can see here, the number of rows eventually start to decrease. But again, this is still not in an easy to understand. format, isn't it? So here's what we can do. After applying this criteria, we can now apply for aggregation operations. Now, what I mean by aggregation operations is nothing but a set of computations that or calculations that you can perform on this filtered data that you see over here. So they basically help in grouping and sorting the data in a more relevant and easy to understand format. So you can calculate the sum, the count, the average, the minimum or maximum of values, and then group them together by properties, and then sort the filtered data in ascending or descending order. So for our example, let's first find out the average duration the average duration that our female users spend on different music genres. So how I'll do that is I'll first take the average of the duration spent by our female users, and I choose to group them by the music genre. I'm sorry. Yeah, the music genre. So here I have defined my property as song genre. So yes, there's a slight difference here. Okay, so now I group them by the music genre, and then I order them in a descending order to see which music genres are streamed the most. And as you can see here, this is the average duration of every music genre. So as you can see, there are different types that have been streamed for the last 30 days by my female users. So now let's try a different aggregation operation to dig more deeper insights. For example, say I would want to know the count of users who have already subscribed based on the music genre. Now what would I do is I would first find the count of users who have already subscribed, and I want to group them based on, again, we'll just group them based on the song genre, I mean the music genre. And now when I apply it, I can easily get to know that R&B is the most subscribed or liked or popularly subscribed music genre amongst my female users. Then I could see the country music, then indie, rock, and classical followed one by one. So, based on these insights, I would get to know more about my users, and accordingly, I would be able to, launch campaigns or send special offers to them on the occasion of Women's Day. So, this is just one use case that we saw using custom properties. So this powerful feature that is now available for events will be soon available for other engagement metrics and error data as well. So you would be able to drill down insights and get specific data that you want using this custom properties search. So yes, this is how the custom properties in Aptics work as well. So, with this, we actually have come to the end of today's session. To summarize what we had covered in today's session, we saw event tracking and how it happens in Aptics. We had a quick introduction to the defined and custom events that we track in Aptics and how to configure them. Then we learned how to define the custom properties for these events, and we also saw how to use them as personalized filters to search data or filter out data based on the custom properties that we have defined.